Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, we're really glad you joined us. We hope you like what you hear. So our podcast is for people who either want to learn something new or make themselves a little bit better every day. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about something called the Stockdale Paradox. What is the Stockdale Paradox? Where did it come from? How can we learn from it? And how can we use its learnings to make our everyday lives better? So that's the outline for the episode today. So with that said, let's jump into it. So, Stockdale Paradox was named after Admiral James Stockdale, who had the dubious distinction of spending more time than any U.S. soldier in a prisoner of war camp in the Vietnam War than anyone. So he was in the Hanoi Hilton mostly for over 7.5 years. So 7.5 years of his life he spent as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. And there were other folks that were in prisoner of war camps for much less time that didn't make it out. They went crazy, they caved in, they killed themselves, they did all sorts of terrible things. Terrible situation for anyone to be in, but we can learn something from a guy that survived in that difficult environment for over 7.5 years. Now, we first heard about the Stockdale Paradox. We read a book called Good to Great. It was written by Jim Collins. It's an older book, probably 30 years old. We read it decades ago. And what Jim Collins did was he went and looked at 15 companies that were similarly positioned at a point in time. So the example we can think of, because we're in the grocery business, is A&P and Kroger. They were about the same size, had about the same revenues, had about the same store count as each other in the 60s. And Kroger went on to become a behemoth, and A&P kind of faded off into obscurity and no longer exists. And he found 9 examples of publicly traded companies that fit this criteria. They were in the same industry. They were about the same size. One of them took off and did really, really well for at least 15 years. So he was looking for 15 years of sustained excellence. And he wanted to compare what are the commonalities between these companies. Some of them were pharma companies. Some of them were retail companies. Some of them were manufacturers. They were across multi-sectors. And he boiled it down to 5 principles that these companies shared. One of them was they promoted leaders from within. They didn't go out and look for the sexy leader that was a free agent that could come take their company to new heights. They promoted people that worked there and knew the company, knew the culture, and were able to be effective. But the thing that interested us the most was this Stockdale Paradox. So essentially what the Stockdale Paradox says, we'll just quote Jim Stockdale. So he says, "You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality." So the Stockdale Paradox is really talking about the ability to balance unwavering faith, knowing that you're going to achieve your goal, that you're going to achieve your objective, while every day confronting the brutal reality that you're facing right now. And so that's super important because if you think about both ends of that spectrum, you've got blind optimism and you've got pessimism, both of which will lead you to failure for sure. So Stockdale talked about the people that didn't make it. They asked him, who didn't make it out? And he said, oh, that's easy. It was the optimists that broke first. He said, those were the people that said, oh, by Christmas we'll be out. And then Christmas came and went. By Easter we'll be out. And then Easter came and went. By the 4th of July we'll be out. And the 4th of July came and went. And they lost hope. So they never thought they were going to make it out. And they gave up. And that got them in the end. So blind optimism without dealing with the reality of what you're dealing with right now, that's not an effective tactic. It's not an effective approach to dealing with your current situation. Neither is pessimism. This is brutal. We're never going to make it out. I can't believe I'm stuck here. All of which are real. All of which is true. But the people that gave in to pessimism suffered the same fate as people that used optimism to try to cope. And so those two approaches, blind optimism and just blatant pessimism, are not the way to get to your goals. So that's what the Stockdale Paradox is. We're going to dig a little bit further into that And we're going to give you some real world examples or applications where you can think about how to use the thought process behind the Stockdale Paradox to be successful in whatever it is that you're looking for. So the first real world application that we came up with is in business and entrepreneurship, and it's actually Elon Musk and Tesla. So Elon Musk is in the news now for a variety of reasons, the biggest one of which he was a huge supporter of President Trump. He's taken a very prominent role in helping the administration shape policy. He's running this DOGE department that's looking for government inefficiencies and ways to squeeze out government inefficiencies. And he is kind of a serial entrepreneur. So he has founded and exited several companies that have been very successful. He also founded several companies that failed. But the companies that have been successful have been wildly successful. So he first made his real big money in PayPal. He was one of the founders of PayPal, and he's leveraged that PayPal investment into Tesla, into SpaceX, into Starlink, into being able to purchase Twitter, into being the wealthiest person on the face of the earth. And it's interesting because we actually watch a lot of podcasts as well as doing our own. And a lot of the podcasts we watch are people that know Elon Musk, and they, to a person, have said, Elon doesn't care about money. He never has. He works hard to do what he thinks is right for the world and to live by his code of ethics. Now, you may disagree with his code of ethics, but he is trying to do what he thinks is right. And look, there's a good conversation around whether you think he's right or not. That's fine. But he's not doing it for the money. And there's a lesson to be learned all on its own just in that. But as he founded Tesla, they nearly went bankrupt a couple of times. And when those things were going on, Elon Musk believed in his vision, believed in his long-term goal, and he accepted that he was having financial struggles and needed to solve those financial problems. He accepted that there was competition from overseas, from the big three car manufacturers who were also trying to produce electric cars at the same time that he was launching Tesla. And he believed in his eventual success, but he dealt with each problem as they came up. He didn't pretend they weren't there. He confronted them every day. And he also didn't get too down on himself and say, this is going to sink us. There's no way out. I'm dead, et cetera, et cetera. So he used the thought process behind the Stockdale Paradox to found and grow one of the biggest companies in the country now and a leader in green technology in electric cars. So that's a really great example of how someone used the Stockdale Paradox to help them through tough times in business. So that's one real world application. What's another? Let's talk personal development or career. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe you're fired. Maybe you're laid off. Maybe your company goes under. Maybe you need to pivot careers because you are an accountant, but you really want to be a teacher. Or maybe you're a teacher and you really want to be a lawyer. Maybe you're a lawyer and you really want to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to learn to stay resilient when things are tough. And the Stockdale Paradox, the thought process behind the Stockdale Paradox, is a great way to approach that. What is your current reality? Maybe you're out of a job and don't have money and need to start making money quickly. Maybe you've got a lot of money, but you really dislike what you do, but you're afraid to cut off that income stream and take your shot. So the Stockdale Paradox will allow you to say, this is my current reality. This is where I want to go. I have unwavering faith that I'm going to get there if I try, but I need to tackle the challenges that I face along the path from where I'm at to where I want to go every day if I'm going to make it. So you have to recognize that industries change. Right now, if you're in a white collar job and you don't recognize that AI is a real threat to middle management jobs, to jobs that are repeatable or redundant, that's a real threat to those jobs. And if you don't recognize that, you're probably already behind the game. Learning to upskill. What is it you're missing in your toolkit right now that will allow you to do the things that you want to do? And how do you acquire those skills? But at the same time, while you're doing those things, you have to confront, I got to do this because I'm not where I want to be. You've got to have unwavering faith that you can do it, that you will take the actions necessary, that you have the bandwidth and the intelligence to do what you want to do, and that you're not going to allow where you're at now and the challenges that you face to prevent you from achieving your long-term goal. So that's a great application of the Stockdale Paradox as it relates to your own personal development in your career. Maybe you need to lose 100 pounds and you have to confront the fact that right now I'm 100 pounds overweight. It just is what it is. And I want to get to a point where I'm at a healthy weight, and I'm going to do all of the things I need to do to make that happen. I have unwavering faith that I'll get there. But the reality is right now, I'm terribly out of shape. I'm terribly overweight, and I need to take action every day to fix that. So that's a great application of the Stockdale Paradox as it relates to personal development and or career development. Okay, let's move to sports and competition. So this example, we've got Michael Jordan. So he was cut from his varsity team his sophomore year as a basketball player. And we always try to add context to this one because we hear this one get thrown around a lot. It wasn't like Michael Jordan was some scrub that couldn't play basketball. He was a skilled basketball player, but he wasn't as physically strong as he needed to be, and he was shorter than they wanted him to be. They were looking for height on that team, and he didn't have it. So they sent him down to the JV team to play a year on JV. With that said, it lit a fire under Michael Jordan because he wanted to be on that varsity team as a sophomore. And if you look at his career, he missed over 9,000 shots. He took the game-winning shot and missed it over 200 times. But he was a guy, and still is a guy, that doesn't fade away from the limelight. His first several years in Chicago, I think he was drafted as either 83 or 84. And if you think about it, the Bulls didn't win their first title until, 93? I think it was 93. So he was in the league 10 years before he got to where he wanted to be. Started off, he couldn't get past the Celtics in the playoffs. The Bulls couldn't get past the Celtics in the playoffs. And then they couldn't get past the Pistons in the playoffs. And when he finally got the rest of the team put together and had developed his skills to get to where he wanted to be, they reeled off 6 championships in 7 years. And that was driven by Michael Jordan. And if you think about the challenges that he faced along those roads, does it pale in comparison to having to pay your mortgage because you don't have a job? Sure it does. But it's still a real testament for him to achieve what he achieved. And the Stockdale Paradox is a great example of how to explain that mindset. Unwavering faith that he's going to get to where he wants to be, while at the same time confronting that right now, we're not good enough. And we've got to get better. So acknowledging failures, but persisting with confidence. Stockdale Paradox at its finest. So as it relates to health or personal challenges, there have been lots of studies done on cancer survivors. And, there's some cancers, if you get pancreatic cancer, it's not a great prognosis. If you get stage 5 bone cancer, it's not a great prognosis. But there's some cancers where you have a good shot at surviving those. And there's been study after study done that shows that those who acknowledge their diagnosis but stay mentally strong tend to beat the odds. And so that is the definition of the Stockdale Paradox. And using that mentality, having the unwavering faith that, look, I've got this disease, it could kill me, but I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to fight like hell to prevent it from killing me. And sometimes the deck is stacked against you and it doesn't matter what you do. There's no way out. But in a lot of instances, there is. And in those instances, the people that confront their reality but have an unwavering faith that they're going to achieve their goal of beating this disease tend to fare much better than others that take a different mental approach. So you got to be realistic about the situation. Be realistic and have an unwavering belief that you're going to get through to the other side. Some practical takeaways from what we just talked about. Assess your reality honestly. You can't sugarcoat it. You can't wish it away. You can't pretend it's not there. You got to confront it head on. You have to acknowledge the current situation, or you can't put together plans to deal with your current situation. So the first step in solving any problem is acknowledging the problem exists. Number 2, hold on to long-term optimism. Don't let setbacks or roadblocks shake your belief. You've got to have an unwavering belief that you're going to get through to the other side while dealing with the very real problems that you deal with every day. Step 3, embrace comfort and struggle. Growth comes through adversity. When you're comfortable, when things are easy, you're not growing. You only grow when you're challenged. You only grow when you have to fight. You only grow when you have to scrap for the next step. And you've got to think about these situations, the situations that are making you better, that are making you stronger, that are making you more capable. So even when shit sucks, you've got to have the mental fortitude to say, I'm fighting through it and I'm making myself better and stronger and more resilient. So you've got to embrace that discomfort and struggle. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do. And that feeds right into number 4, which is develop mental toughness. Read, meditate, write in your journal or your diary, practice resilience. Listening to podcasts like ours is a good way to go. We have a relentless approach to left-brained, fact-based, no bullshit approach to life. You have to confront what your problems are, but you also have to give yourself credit that you are resilient, you are strong, you are capable of doing anything you set your mind to. The biggest challenge you've got is right here. The biggest challenge you've got is unwavering belief in yourself that you will accomplish what you are trying to set out to accomplish. And that's how you can develop mental toughness. So, lots of examples we covered of this in everyday life, how the Stockdale Paradox applies to everyday life. Remember, this guy spent 7.5 years in a goddamn POW camp, and he made it out. And most people know him best as Ross Perot's vice presidential candidate for Ross Perot's failed run for the presidency in 1992, which coincidentally helped Bill Clinton get elected because Ross Perot siphoned votes off from George George H.W. Bush. And so Ross Perot was a spoiler in that election for sure. But that's where you probably know Jim Stockdale from. We heard about him before that when we read this book. So, challenge to you. Identify a challenge in your life and apply this mindset to it. Try it out. Try it out on something in your life. We're telling you it's a really good approach. Stockdale Paradox. Unwavering belief that I'm going to get there. Brutal reality, confronting it every day, not denying what you're dealing with right now. Be great to hear from you in the comments. If you've tried this before, even if you didn't name it the Stockdale Paradox, but you've taken this approach, have you had success with it? Do you know others that have had success with it? We'd love to hear that from you guys. So that's the episode for today, guys. Hope you find it helpful. We love the Stockdale Paradox and wanted to share that framework of thought process with you because we feel like it's very easy to apply to your everyday life. Unwavering belief I'm going to get there while brutally confronting the reality of my situation every day. You can do both of those things. You can do both of those things at the same time. So James puts it up over here every day. We've got a website, saltygingertalk.com. Head on over there. All of our podcast episodes are available there. We've got links to all of our social media accounts there. And then we publish a newsletter every weekday that you can subscribe to. We cover 3 current events. We give a quote of the day. We give a tip of the day. We have a little fun. We're sarcastic. It's a quick 5-minute read that will keep you in the know and put a smile on your face in the morning. So it'd be great if you want to subscribe to that newsletter as well. And then obviously don't forget, like, comment, subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. It's super helpful for us if you're able to do that. So appreciate everyone checking out the channel. Hope everyone has a great week. We'll see you in the next episode.